Welcome to my show. A guest here. Her name is Franke James. Mrs. Frankie, how are you doing, ma?
Just great. Thank you so much. You interview so many fascinating guests, and I hope I can live up to it.
Yes, thank you so much, ma. Firstly, you are an award-winning author, and you are also an environmental activist. Can you please, ma, discuss more about yourself and how you are doing currently now, ma?
Yes, well, my background is as a climate activist, and I've written a couple of books on the environment and actually been censored by the Canadian government for my actions on um, having people take personal responsibility for climate change. And so there's lots of fascinating stuff there. But it's my latest book, Freeing Teresa, which has led me to become a disability rights activist. And that book is called Freeing Teresa, a true story about my sister and me.
That's very great. And can you also discuss more about your 12 books and your latest one, which is Praying Teresa, a true story about my sister and Mima?
Yes. Well, my first book was Bothered by My Green Conscience, a true story about going green, and lots of fun stuff in there, like um, to selling our only car. And then because we sold our only car, which was an outrageous act as far as some of my family was concerned, I felt that we didn't need a driveway. So we wanted to rip up the driveway. But first of all, we called the city to see if we could remake the whole driveway into sort of, you know, trees and plants and things like that. But the city said it would be illegal to get rid of your driveway in North York. And so I ended up having to fight City Hall for the right to build a green environmental driveway. And there's a really fun story, Paradise Unpaved. And I won, and we built the driveway.
Hmm. Thank you so much, Mrs. Frankie. Thank you so much, man. And it is very, very difficult to have a disabled person very close to his or her. It's a very tough one. And how do you try your best to, rescue your disabled sister from the institutional care into your life, man?
I had no idea that I would have to do this. What happened was that my sister has Down syndrome and has lived with our family all our lives. I thought it was just, she would continue to live with family. And in fact, she was expected to live with my brother. However, he changed his mind for his own reasons, which is fine, except he didn't tell my father that he was no longer going to take Teresa. So the start of the story is really, it's about a broken promise. And through that broken promise, all sorts of things fell out of it. And my siblings decided that since my brother wasn't going to take care of Teresa, they were going to put Teresa into a nursing home. And I was horrified and said, no, 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 you can't do that. It's against your human rights. You can't do that. And they disagreed and put Teresa into the nursing home. And then my father was very, very upset at this. He had no idea that they were going to do this to Teresa. And so I helped my father. My husband and I went down on November 30th, 2013, and went to the nursing home. And we sat there for hours asking for the medical documentation that put Teresa into the nursing home. And finally, we got it. And finally, we saw that my dad had the authority to sign her out. So that's what we did. And the the thing is, though, that all hell broke loose after we took Teresa out because my siblings were upset that we had spoiled their plan to have Teresa in the nursing home. And it can sound kind of weird. Why would someone be upset that their sister wants to take care of her? But my siblings had a plan, and their plan was what they thought was an easy solution that Teresa would be taken care of for the rest of her life with a roof over her head and food in her belly. And yet, I thought that it restricted her freedom too much and limited her future opportunities. So that's when I realized that I had to step in and rescue Teresa. And in the she has blossomed, and it's incredible. She's lived with us for now 11 years, and she has blossomed into a self-advocate, a twice published author of her self-talk poems and and her art. And she's received an apology from the government, and she's become a champion of change, named so by the Human Rights Commissioner in BC.
Hmm. Thank you
So
so
yes,
much. Yeah,
this
thank you
book
so much,
definitely
Mrs.
changed
Frankie.
my life.
It is not so easy. It is not so easy to fight for your sister, and now she's in your house. I'm so happy that it is good news and the apology has been sent. Thank you so much, ma. And why did you also have to choose between family and your sister freedom, ma?
Well, that's a good question. The thing is that in terms of my family, so you think of my family as a group, and the group was intent on putting Teresa into the nursing home. And when me, as you know, as a single individual, stood up and said, "No, no, no, you can't do that," they disregarded me. And so I had to fight the group in order to rescue Teresa, and I upset their plan. And so I had to take sides. Was I going to side with my family who wanted Teresa in a nursing home, or did I want to help Teresa? And I wanted to help Teresa. I felt that she had a lot more living to do, and it wasn't fair to put her into a nursing home. And I've been proven right, thank God. And we've had a wonderful time. My sister and I are much closer now, Teresa and I. But the other siblings, unfortunately, they don't see things that way, and they've never apologized.
Mm, that's very, very bad, but I'm so happy that you guys are now more closer. The relationship is more stronger. That is the good news, Mrs. Frankie.
Yes,
And you are also a climate activist now. Like,
yes.
why did you try your best to become a disability rights activist? There will surely be something that really inspired you in the first place, man.
Yes, well, rescuing Teresa from the nursing home opened my eyes to disability rights. I wasn't aware of it at all before. I had no idea what the word ableism even meant. And that is discrimination against people with disabilities. And it can be unconscious or conscious. There are a lot of prevailing social attitudes in society which say, oh, a person with a disability has to be taken care of. And they do need support, but they don't need smothering. So, as a climate activist, I had uh, fought the government on censorship. And in order to fight them, I had to learn how to apply for freedom of information requests, how to record my conversations with the government bureaucrats, and really how to fight back publicly. Like, for example, I had posters in Washington, Ottawa, Calgary, and Halifax that said, do not talk about climate change. It is against government policy. And for on the posters, because that's an outrageous statement, I had the proof of what I had gotten from the Freedom of Information documents, where a government spokesperson privately said to other government people in an email that the artist's work dealt mostly with climate change and was against government policy. And so that was the reason that they felt it was okay to shut me down. And in order to be shut down, it's really insidious. The thing is that it's as easy as picking up the phone and saying, nah, I'm not really in favor of that person. And before you know it, all sorts of doors have closed. And there is a sort of a sense amongst the government that we were not going to support this lady. We're going to warn other sort of event organizers not to show her work. And that's what happened. In fact, it was really quite funny. One of the Freedom of Information requests that I came along or put in came
Mm,
up with a um, uh, a government spokesperson. So this was an ambassador to Canada, and he said, "Franke James is your fault," and that was the subject of the email, and it was totally redacted. So it was blacked out in most sections, and I could not see what else was being said about me except the headline, "Franke James is your fault."
hmm. That's very great. Thank you so much, Mrs. Frankie. And could you just personally tell us about your ethic game book, the Dear Office Politics, and how you use the decision making quadrant in your everyday life, ma?
Right. Well, in 2009, I published Dear Office Politics, and it was based on the on the website that my husband and I had created called officepolitics.com, which is still up. And on that, it initially was going to be a game, and this book is a game. So let me get to the decision-making quadrant
Mm,
is so imagine that you have a group of people that are playing the office politics game out of my book. And there would be one person who is the advice seeker who really wants to have, who has a problem and is asking the other people at the table how to solve it. So that person tells their story, and then let's say three or four people say what that person should do. So they would use the evaluation grid, the quadrant, to decide if the advice is ethical and good. And the quadrant is the put yourself in the TV news test. And if the TV station were doing a story, what would the reporter say? Put yourself in the other person's shoes. That's quadrant two. And did the advisor put themselves in the other person's shoes? The third quadrant is power analysis. Did the advisor correctly analyze who holds the power and explore different types of power? Because not just the boss has power, the employee has power, mostly by going public and blowing the whistle. And third and fourth is company's best interests. And this could be a person's best interest. Is the advice in the company's best interest, or does it serve the interests of one employee or a special group of employees? So this ethics quadrant had, which I came up with based on the stories that I've read in office politics, has really been influential to me. Like, for example, I use it in my everyday life. Like I would say, I didn't know. Um, is this, how is this going to look on the TV's news test that they put Teresa into a nursing home? Well,
mm,
that doesn't sound fair. and I don't think it will play well on the TV news. So in each case, I've been able to use the ethics quadrant to help me sort out my own ethics dilemmas. And in life, any of us can be hit by all sorts of ethical dilemmas, and we would just get blindsided. What do we do? Well, this book, Dear Office Politics, helps you to understand what you can do and what some different pathways are to when you're hit by an ethical dilemma.
Hmm. Thank you so much, Mrs. Frankie. And lastly, like, what do you think are some of the biggest challenges people with disabilities face in securing equal opportunities in employment, ma?
Well, I don't know. I mean, um, I haven't really encountered that much because
Okay,
uh, Teresa, is an artist and author, and she has the freedom
okay.
to create her own artwork and poetry, and it's wonderful.
And what advice could you personally give to the audience if you have anyone, ma?
I think that the most important thing is for people to speak up. That would be that you can witness. There were a lot of witnesses around the fact that Teresa was being put into the nursing home, but and they could see that she was lively and active and doing, well in life, and she was living with my father at that time. But um, most of the people, well, everyone except for my husband and myself and my dad, um, turned a blind eye and allowed the my brother and sister who had power of attorney to put Teresa into a nursing home. And they could see, in my opinion, that it was wrong and unnecessary for her to go in, but they didn't say anything. So my advice to people would be, when you see that something is being done wrong to your brother, your sister, your husband, your wife, whatever, stand up, say something.
Hmm.
You are an inside witness, and it's important that you may be afraid to speak up, and you should document as soon as possible conversations. And you can document through audio recordings, video, and photographs, and even just writing down. But record the time, the place, what was said, so that if things go off the rails, you will be able to prove what was said. I
Hmm.
read in a newspaper recently, it was an employment lawyer, and he was saying, if you don't have a recording of what, let's say the abuse that happened, it never happened. So for that lawyer, he was saying, you know, you need proof. And I think that that's really true. You really need proof.
Hmm. Thank you so much, Mrs. Frankie. And I also completely agree with you. You know, there are some circumstances and situations in life we just have to stand up for that person because whether we like it or not, that person feels alone. And we could be the person who could fill that place up. And you also do that. Thank you so much, man. And there's a question I normally ask Mrs. Frankie from the ancestors, from the forefathers. If there is anything you would like to bring back to our time today, what do you think that thing would be, ma?
Let me see. Is it about bringing back an ancestor, or is it? Sorry, I don't understand the question.
Yes, I understand. Like from people from the past, the ancestors, there are a lot of things that have happened in the past that we might have been missing out today. Is there anyone that you stand in your mind, if there is any, that you would like to bring back to our time today, ma?
Well, the first person who comes to mind is actually my father, who died before all of this was settled. And
Oh, sorry.
I would like to bring him back to see how well Teresa is doing and how she has blossomed.
Yes.
And it was through belief that she was going to have a wonderful life and support and help, and lots of love. So Teresa needed a lot more than just food and shelter. She needed love every day. And that's what we've been able to give to her.
Hmm. That's very great. Mrs. Frankie, I want to personally thank you for your time. I want to also personally thank you for the effort, for also taking care of Teresa. Thank you so much, ma.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure to be on your show.
All right, ma. Have a wonderful day, Mrs. Frankie.
Great. Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye.